Good evening, friends. This is a long time. We are again on global focus, and we are just going to discuss a very important topic. We talk about Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India, but how Atmanirbhar are we actually? So that's what we'll be looking at today. What happens to India's economy and national security when the microchips powering the multi-billion dollar military can be disabled with a single foreign sanctions order? To discuss with me is Dr. Adityanjee. Once again, welcome Dr. Adityanjee. Welcome to Global Focus after a long time.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sinha, for inviting me on Global Focus. This is a very important topic. Let's have
Yeah.
a chat on this.
Yeah. Sir, we know India imports over 90% of its semiconductors, with approximately 80% coming from China, Hong Kong. Hearing these figures, it seems as though the brains of our defense hardware are in someone else's hands. How serious is this from a strategic standpoint? And is this truly a new vulnerability, or is it the reality for military across the globe?
So I'll start with a couple of comments. Yes, India imports more than 90% of its microprocessors and chips or semiconductors. And there has been a surge in demand over last year by 53% more
Yes.
because they are used in every sphere of life, in every industry. Chips are important because everything is based on computers and information technology.
Right.
It is true that India used to import 90% of its microprocessors and chips from China, but that is no longer true. It has come down to less than 50%. In fact, India has diversified now its sources of microchips and semiconductors from a wide variety of countries because of the bad experience India had during COVID-19 when supply chains got disrupted and there were some issues with China. They slowed the process. So China now supplies around 38%.
Oh,
32% comes from Taiwan.
nice.
Around 10% or 9.8% comes from South Korea. From Japan, around 2.65% from Malaysia. From US, from Thailand, from Laos. So India has diversified, but also India is giving a big push for entire microchips semiconductor
Mm.
ecosystem under Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Yeah.
So although past, if you go by past, observations are gloomy, but
Mm.
if you look at the trends, they are in the right direction under Atmanirbhar Bharat. The demand is increasing. We spent around $50 billion in 2025, excuse me, on chips and related issues, and that will increase to up to $110 billion by 2030. But the estimate is that by 2035, India would be self-sufficient. By 2029, we'll be just, making 75% domestically. And by 2035, not only India will be self-sufficient, but India will be one of the exporter hubs, a
Mm.
major hubs for production of microchips and semiconductors. So, yes, past was a different story. What initiatives have been taken since December 21 when Government of India started what is called ISM 1.0, India Semiconductor Mission 1.0. And that was revised, I believe, in the budget session of 2026, February of 2026, to ISM 2.0. In ISM 1.0, the government actually invested almost $10 billion. In ISM-2, government is planning to invest $13 billion in partnership with state governments, in partnership with universities, in partnership with private industry, private players, and foreign collaborators. So this is a big thing, ISM 2.0, and there are collaborations with multiple companies from various different countries. And people are vying, except for one or two that are not very interested. The world's largest semiconductor and chips manufacturing concern from Taiwan,
Mhm.
TSMC,
Yeah.
declined participating in India's invitation.
Right.
And I think the reasons were semi-political and something to do with India's ecosystem, lack of ecosystem for semiconductors. So they were, largest and they were upset. I think the Taiwanese government was upset that India did not send parliamentary delegation
Mhm.
for swearing in ceremony of Taiwanese president, I think in 2014 or 2015.
Oh.
So they showed some lukewarm response. And their
Mhm.
thing was that India does not have a proper environment or an ecosystem for
Mhm.
semiconductor industry. So
Yeah.
they backed out. But
Mhm.
there's another Taiwanese company called, I think, PMSC, PSMC,
Mhm.
Progressive Chip, manufacturing something, something.
Mhm.
They are the seventh largest company in this field.
Mhm.
They are collaborating with Tata's in Gujarat.
Yeah, Dholera.
So, yeah, Dholera.
Mhm.
So we are seeing actually a lot of positive energy now. In
Mhm.
fact, last week, or pretty much this week, because it ended on 23rd of August, there was
Mhm.
a Japan summit in UP,
Okay.
and governor of a prefecture, I think Yamamanshi from
Mhm.
Japan came, and there was a huge Japanese delegation. So there will be a new industrial city created near Noida or Jawahar International Airport. It will be
Mhm.
called Japan City. The UP government has
Yeah.
given 500 acres for it. And I think the focus would be on semiconductors, artificial intelligence, green energy, all that kind of thing. So there's a semiconductor manufacturing, whole uh, thing, whole ecosystem. There will be a not just fabrication, but uh, pretty much whole system in Noida. And there are other states where foreign collaborations are going on. So there are collaborations with Japan, there are collaborations with Taiwan, there are collaborations from uh, South Korea. South Korea is, Samsung and other companies. And of course, Netherlands, ASML company. And then a number of companies from United States are also investing in India. So it's an irony that TSMC, which agreed to invest $165 billion in United States in a semiconductor manufacturing plant in United States in state of Arizona, didn't want to do that, but P, PSMC agreed to invest, I think, around $20 billion. And they are the seven
Uh,
largest company.
as I remember, I learned some days back there is a company that manufactures the machines that make this chip actually, that what the TSMC is also using. So
Mm,
India had some kind of agreement with that company. I don't remember the name of the country, which country this.
mm. I think that is ASMLC, that is a Netherlands or Dutch company.
Yeah.
So they are going to provide some equipment for lithography and stuff like that.
Mm.
I mean, I'm not a domain expert in this area. I'm not an IT guy or, from semiconductor industry. I look at the trends. I look at the policy and strategic issues. So I'm observing the trends. And my overall impression is that, you know, There was a time when India had only two domestic cars, Ambassador,
Yeah.
produced by Hindustan Levers from British Morrison Company, and a
Yeah.
version of Fiat which
Mm,
went by the name Padmini. You know, and when revolution started in India, and now
mm,
India is number two producers of automotive vehicles after,
mm,
I believe, China. I think so, after China. Similarly, in other spheres, India is a late bloomer actually in this kind of thing. So you saw in 2019, Apple cell phones, the Foxconn, started a factory in Bengaluru. And now, one in four Apple cell phones are manufactured in India and sold.
yeah.
Okay. 25% of Apple's entire output of smartphones is from India.
Mm.
So if you see these kind of trends,
But
picture does
India,
not
but India is making phones or only assembling?
look. We indulge in all this kind of whataboutery. When
Mm,
you start even an assembly plant, there is a whole ecosystem developed.
yeah.
So I was looking at one of this investment in semiconductor industry in Gujarat, and they were saying that it'll create direct jobs 20,000. Indirect jobs would be 60,000 in related industries. And then there'll be induced jobs because local economy grows. So when there are employees, they buy houses, they go to restaurants. You are supporting all that kind of thing.
Mm,
Also, the universities have got their act together. Almost, 300 universities have changed the curricula.
mm,
There is an all India technical higher education kind of thing. There's a body, they are sprucing up the, BTech and diploma courses in semiconductor manufacturing. So a lot is happening, and it's not just one issue. It's an entire cycle, entire ecosystem, designing materials, production, packaging, assembly, whole ecosystem, plus R&D. So the way ISM 2.0 is that by 2035, India would be a global hub for entire ecosystem in semiconductor manufacturing, R&D, exports.
mm,
It will be one of the several top countries from nowhere.
yeah.
You know, we saw this phenomenon at the beginning of COVID. India used to import all the masks and personal protective equipments, and by the end of the pandemic, India was exporter of all these things to various countries, including vaccines.
Mm,
So I think the issue has been that if the government does not pay attention, things go as they are. But once the attention is paid, there's a capability and there's a capacity to make a change in the positive direction. So I'm seeing the same trend. The other important thing is that India did not have this gallium nitride chip. In 2019, we were asking France to transfer the technology, and France refused. And there is this solid state physics lab in Ahmedabad. So, under a domestic scientist by name Dr. Meena Mishra, India has been able to locally produce and manufacture gallium nitride chips. And there's a company in Bengaluru, which is a commercial wing of Indian Institute of Science. They have been making GAN chips, which are used in defense industry and space industry. So I see overall progress in all spheres.
mm,
Vulnerability and dependency on China is going down.
yeah.
Again, I will use the example. There was a
Mm,
time India was importing 90% of its armed forces equipment,
mm,
arms from Soviet Union/Russian Federation, and that has gone down to 45%, and they are number of items we no longer import in India, they are on the negative list, so they are produced domestically.
Mm.
Uh, so we should have a positive outlook. We
Mm.
should see the trends, we should the capability of the government because things are changing very fast.
Mm. Now, looking at past incidents, an attack by the Chinese state-sponsored hackers on
Mhm.
Ladakh's power grids was documented in 2022, believed to be preparation for the future sabotage. Globally, there also have been investigative reports regarding hidden backdoors in motherboards. So this is not a merely theory, it has actually happened. So how does such a threat practically manifest in defense hardware, and what is India's capability to detect it?
So the issue is that you ban chips and microprocessors and semiconductors from an enemy country,
Mm.
which is your strategic rival. So
Yeah.
China did that in 2022 with Ladakh power grid. I think similar thing was done also with Mumbai power grid. Pakistan took some credit for that, but basically they are an economic colony of China. So whatever China may have done, it may have been attributed to Pakistan. And China has done with other countries also. Remember, after the Galwan clash, the government put some restrictions on Chinese apps,
Mm.
banned certain Chinese apps, and in certain sensitive areas, banned the import of Chinese equipment
Mm.
because China's equipment is not trustworthy because in every equipment these days there are chips. And if there is something inserted, a backdoor open in the motherboard, you will have problem. China has done that with other countries also, not just with India. They've done that with United States also. So United States government is no longer importing sensitive things in assembly of their weapon systems.
Mm.
They are not purchasing material or steels or whatever. So after a realization has set in, there are sort of, corrective steps. Now we are talking about defense and space and all that kind of thing. So India has been able to manufacture its indigenously developed chip called Vikram 3201,
Yeah.
which is, I think, 64-bit uh, semiconductor thing. This is used specifically in launch of space vehicles,
Mm.
and it is such that it can withstand the extremes of weather from minus 55 degrees Celsius to 155 degrees Celsius, okay, or 125 degrees Celsius. And this is used in PSLV now, totally indigenously developed with ISRO and its arm called Vikram Sarabhai Space Center and another company in Mohali, Chandigarh.
Mm.
So again, what I'm emphasizing that the gloomy picture that was in past is changing rapidly, not just under Atmanirbhar Bharat, but also under this new policy of
Mm.
ISM 2.0 under Ministry of, I think, Electronics and government is very, very aware what are the
Mm.
implications. They are willing to revise it to ISM 3.0 also. I
Mm.
heard a speech by the minister Piyush Goyal. So they are giving like almost 50% concessions or incentives to foreign companies for investing in semiconductor industry in India. So once you develop an ecosystem, it
Yeah.
benefits everyone. It benefits everyone. So yes, because our demands are increasing, there is a surge in imports of chips by 53% compared to 2025.
Mm.
But the way we are producing by 2029, almost 70 to 75% will be produced domestically because, The timeline is 4 to 5 years for advanced chip making factories, and the government is trying to compress that. And there are multiple collaborations. There are 30 Japanese companies that are now collaborating with Indian partners.
So the one question is the pace. I am talking about the pace at which the India is developing the semiconductor chips.
Hmm.
So given that the China has been ahead in this race for decades,
Hmm.
so how long do you think it will take India to catch up?
Okay. So there was a time when
Hmm.
China was way ahead of India in digital transactions.
Yeah.
You know the story of that now.
Yeah, that I know, but that is about the public actually, so that we are not
Uh,
told
so,
something.
so now in India, 38,000 million financial transactions are done digitally on UPI interface.
Yeah.
And there's a very famous Lok Sabha, statement by P. Chidambaran when government introduced this
Yeah,
UPI
yeah.
and all.
I remember.
He was trying to ridicule the government that we don't have this, we don't have that, or how the poor
Hmm.
villager or the cart holder who is doing transactions in terms of 7 rupees and 10 rupees will he use all these kind of things. Totally wrong.
Yeah,
Totally wrong.
even I was thinking, what is the use of this when in rural areas there is no internet connections.
Hmm.
But
So,
today I see that rural areas have better internet connectivity, even with
so I
electricity.
think we take a rather pessimistic attitude. We take a very pessimistic attitude. We are very resistant to change as a culture, and we do a lot of self-flagellation, beating our own chest that we cannot do this. And I think that this, colonized mentality that we cannot do everything, we have to look up to our masters in the West for everything, every help.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that has changed. That
Mm-hmm.
has changed. But the older set of politicians
Mm-hmm.
and our, certain section of our intelligentsia still has that attitude, colonized attitude, mentality that we are good for nothing and everything is a smokescreen, nothing is happening, but things are moving at a very fast pace. So by 2035, our demand for semiconductors would be almost $200 billion.
I see.
And by that time, the world demand for semiconductor chips would be $1.5 trillion. And India would have capability that India would be exporting, just like India is exporting arms now.
Yes. So my final question to you,
Mm.
uh, uh, what advice or suggestion would you like to give to defense planners today that is required to be done this year only?
I think not just defense planners, but our policy planners and union government, that we need to invest very heavily in this sector.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
ISM 2.0 has come
Mhm.
and we need ISM 3.0,
Mhm.
possibly in next year's budget. And I think
Mhm.
we have to find domestic savings by reducing A, corruption, B,
Mhm.
freebies. The tendency is both at center and state level to give freebies.
Mhm.
So just like, there was a time we were giving sort of subsidized cylinders of gas to everyone. And in 2014, people were encouraged to give up subsidized cylinder. So this is what we have to encourage. We have to introduce means testing in every program so that people who don't deserve, who have
Mhm.
means and wherewithals to enter into the marketplace, are not just getting freebies.
Yeah.
We can save money. It's not that there's no money. it is being wrongly prioritized. Now we are talking about this, direct jobs, indirect jobs are 3 to 4 times of direct jobs,
Yeah.
you know, and then induced jobs are many
Mm.
more fold. So there's a whole catalytic pattern of economic development. It's not that only few people are getting sort of advantage. You know, there are like 10 patents filed by private companies. There are almost 70, 80 patents filed by academia,
Mm.
universities and all that sort of thing in this area. So
Mm.
this is now finally, India is finally waking up in this area. And if you look at what government is doing, that the two premier scientific institutions, the ISRO and DRDO, government is now, restructuring them to the extent that they will do only R&D. And then private companies under public private collaboration model will do the heavy lifting in terms of translation of the research findings into actual product development,
Yeah.
because you can't do everything in government labs, and you don't have wherewithals, and then you get distracted everywhere. So they are using this time tested model. And I think that's a positive thing, that these two premier institutions should focus on research, pure research. So they keep on bringing out more and more, research products.
Yeah.
And then to do mass production of these research products, there should be some sort of licensing with private sector. Of course, security considerations have to be kept in mind. You cannot give the technology to any Tom, Dick, or Harry.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need to have adequate safeguards, etc., etc., that the technology does not get re-exported to an enemy country. you know but India has, there are a lot of projects India has done very well. The BrahMos,
Yeah.
they are exporting BrahMos now.
Mhm.
uh, so I don't have any doubts that if the government makes up the determination, especially the kind of government we have since 2014, and if there's continuity of government, continuity of policies and policy implementation, things are going to get to a much higher level. Now, countries like China, which are autocracy, dictatorships, it's very easy to, you know, implement the policies because there's no opposition. The problem comes in India, and I'll give you an example. There was a project called Golden Quadrilateral, started by Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee when he was the Prime Minister, to link all the four corners of India by four major highways.
Mm.
The moment his government was defeated and Congress government or UPA government came, they scrapped the project.
Yeah.
And then there was no road development for next 10 years
Mm.
till NDA government came back. So I don't want that kind of, policy paralysis and things like to set up because the government changes or policies change. Because if you have consistency in a particular area, there's enough talent in India if you give the incentives. And now
Yeah.
people are realizing that, having an open economy, not
Mm.
having license, quota, permit, Raj, and only government, babus deciding what can be produced, what cannot be produced. So
Mm.
private sector is thriving and the states are making, contributions. And you saw that, Japanese came to UP, Uttar Pradesh, a state that was called Bimaru state. Now that state is saying that we want to develop into $1 trillion economy. And there's a 600 crore rupees Japan investment fund. 500-acre Japanese city will be developed, which will focus on production of chips and semiconductors,
Mm.
whole AMTP and OSAT process. So things are moving in the right direction. Yes, Right now, our demand is increasing, so we are importing more and more. But will that import factor remain? Probably not, because our domestic production will start increasing as these factories in Gujarat, in Dholera and Sanand, they come online, and there are other factories also that are being developed.
So friends, we started this conversation with one chip, Vikram 32, a symbol of what India can build when it tries. And we are finishing at Dholera and Sanand, two projects literally racing against time. So this was a good conversation, Dr. Adityanjee. It was very insightful and this was very much required today. So thank you, friends. Thank you for your time. If you have any question on your mind, do write in comments. We'll be answering those questions. Dr. Adityanjee, a big thank you to.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sinha, for inviting me on Global Focus. I just want to end with one statement. There's some impression being created that central government is awarding projects only to Gujarat. No, that is not true. In terms of semiconductor industry, I mentioned about Uttar Pradesh. Karnataka also is, with the collaborations and Indian Institute of Science and its commercial arms, is strong on this.
Mm,
Similarly, states of Tamil Nadu, states of Odisha are
mm,
also, you know, so it will not be just one state. Let me be very clear about it.
I
You will have semiconductor industry as a major industry in number of states in India.
mm,
Let's wait till 2030. No, I'm not even saying 2035, because
yes.
the way the trends are going on, there'll be a big boost in India's capacity development in this particular ecosystem as new patents are being discovered, new, skills are being created, educational curricula by universities and, technical colleges are being revamped.
Mm.
Things are looking very good.
And this is a good thing. The universities are getting involved actually. Government is involving universities. Earlier,
Yes.
it never happened actually.
Earlier
University.
they were silos. Earlier they were silos. Nobody wanted to, talk to each other.
Mm,
So, especially this restructuring ISRO and DRDO with their main focus on doing pure research rather than development, and
yeah.
let development be done by private sector under, supervision of the government.
Mm. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sinha. Pleasure always to come on your platform.